Dudes and dudettes, how are you guys? This is Jazzy and today I'm feeling good, I'm looking good, I got a haircut, you know, I shaved my little neck region area here. I got some mean little, what is this, like 8, 9 o'clock shadow. My beard is growing out. I feel good, guys, I'm feeling sexy, you know. I'm good looking. But anyway, so, I'm trying to kind of start the video off on a positive note because there's a very good chance that I'm going to get a little irritated throughout today's vlog because I'm going to be talking about something very, very controversial, but that I always feel like there's a margin for a conversation. You know, there's a lot of stuff that I can share regarding my opinion about this, and it is the current generation clash that we are living through right now. What does a generation clash mean? It's basically how the current generation, I don't know if they call it X, Y, or Z, I didn't bother to look that up before recording the video, but the current generation today, which would be me, you know, in my late 20s, and then my parents, and well, sorry, me today in my late 20s, you know, everyone there, and then the other generation is from my parents and backwards, you know. So basically the generation, if you're somewhere between 25 and 30 or so years of age, and then you are part of the generation right now, and then there's also the generation of your parents, and you could even expand that and put it into the current younger generation, which is, you know, all of the kids and stuff. But in general, I think we're all sort of kind of connected, the young people of today, and there have been so many generation clashes over the years. I think that's how it is, you know. In every decade there's something different, you know. The 50s and 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and then 2000s onwards, it seems like every decade there's something new, you know. There's a new trend, there's something different that happens, and then people just can't really accept what's happening, you know. They can't accept the changes and they try to do away with them and try to bring back the past, you know. And that doesn't, it's not only about, you know, everyday general life, you know, it's also about entertainment, like how people complain that the music of today is different, you know, and that they wish it was like how it was back in their day, you know. And when it comes to this kind of thing, it's very thin ice that you tread on, you know, because you start to get into territory that's a little hard to talk about on YouTube, like for example religion, you know, where certain people back in the day think differently about people today, you know, within religious organizations, politics, you know, and the way, for example, the LGBT community today, they are very heavily persecuted by people from the past generations, you know, and then from this generation onward, it's like normal, you know, it's completely normal for you to be gay or bi or lesbian or trans or whatever. I actually recorded a video talking about just this, the concept of homosexuality. It got a pretty good, decent number of views, but a lot of hate. You know, I had to start blocking accounts because they were spamming my the video with hate comments, you know. So but the thing is that I don't know, it's very strange because at the same time that these people, the older generation, you know, the old folks, they don't want to respect the opinions of the younger generation, but they want us to respect their opinions, you know. And why does this idiotic buzzsaw, why is it that every time I record, that's when the buzzsaw starts to go off, man? I mean, really? Okay, so I went over there and closed my door and my windows again. It might get a little stuffy in here, but whatever. I tried to muffle out the sound of this douchebag. I hate this guy so much, man. Seriously, if I ever meet this guy in person and nobody is there to stop me, I am going to beat the living crap out of him. But anyway, so going back to the video, the generation gaps between each generation, I think it's a little strange because it really depends on how old your parents had you. If there's a 20 or 30-year difference, there is almost an exact perfect 30-year difference between me and my father, for example, you know. And we have a lot of different ways of thinking of certain things in life, you know. And he is actually he has a lot of prejudice inside of him, you know, which is, it was the way that he was raised by his own father, you know, by my grandfather, you know. So it does make sense that my grandparents way back in the day would think differently than me today, you know. When I have children myself, I'm obviously going to raise them much differently than my own parents raised me and how my grandparents raised them, you know. There's always going to be a very big gap between generations, you know. And I'm not talking about like the actual age, you know, but a symbolic app, you know, of knowledge, you know, and ways of thinking, let's say, you know. And I think that the biggest problem that we're facing today as, you know, the millennials or boomers, whatever the hell we're called, is that we just can't get through to our parents, you know. And it's actually the main reason why I live by myself, you know. I haven't lived with my parents in a few years now, and although I do still go and visit occasionally, I mean, like, it was impossible, you know. It was impossible to continue cohabitating with them, know, because we were thinking way too differently. We were always arguing, and because they're very authoritarian, you know, they always wanted to impose their opinions on me and pretty much like shut out my voice, you know. And obviously I hate people who do this, you know. I don't like people who are dictators, so it was impossible to continue living with them. So I'm very happy that I was able to finally move out, you know. And I think I was past the age where I had to move out and live by myself. But the point is that I think that people are starting to become more and more disrespectful of different opinions, you know. Like if somebody doesn't think the way you do, you know, like the older generation, like if they don't think the way you do, automatically in their head that makes you wrong, you know. It's like their opinions it's like they're the only ones who are right and everyone else is wrong, you know. And I did talk about this in my video regarding open and closed-minded people, you know. It's actually a very similar concept to this one, and I think that the older you get, the more you close your mind, you know. I don't know if it's like you intentionally do it, you know, because you don't really care anymore, or it's just like an automatic thing, you know. Like if you get too old, you start to develop Alzheimer's, you know. It's a natural thing, you know. So maybe this whole closed-minded thing is also automatic, you know. It's a natural process. And I do know people who are much older than me who are just as open-minded as me, so it's not with everyone. But then again, I'm talking about people who are already like past their 50s and 60s, you know. I think that's where you really start to close your mind off, you know, because you don't really feel the need to learn anything else, because you've lived for so many decades that you feel like you're the smartest person on the planet, you know. Like there's nothing else new that you can learn, especially a younger person. Like in your head, if you're in your 60s, it's impossible for somebody who's so much younger, you know, than you to teach you something new, you know. That's how I feel that the majority of old people think, you know. I don't really understand why this is such a thing. Like, well, why is it so hard for you to admit that you're wrong, you know? Like my parents are two people who I don't think I've ever in my life heard my parents admit that they were wrong about anything, because they always think they're right. Like if my mom says that 2 + 2 = 7, you know, I mean, in her head she's right, and I would pay all the money in the world to see you try to argue with her, you know. So it's like, and what's weird is that the older you get, the dumber you get, and the more closed-minded you get. So it's literally impossible for somebody like me to talk with you, you know. I can't have a conversation with somebody who's so much older and who's so close-minded, you know. It's just aggravating. Now, I'm gonna leave a link up here to a very old video. I think I recorded this one in 2018 or 2019, and back when I was still living in my old house, where I was talking about old people and their wisdom, you know, how people who get older, they don't really seem to have a lot more intelligence, you know. It's like there was a certain period of their life where they learned new things and they absorbed a lot of new information, but then they just stopped learning, you know. And obviously there are exceptions to this. I actually have a friend, she's a really close friend of mine. She's actually, I think she recently turned 60 actually. She turned exactly 60, and she's actually very smart, very open-minded. She lives in a different country. She's in Canada, so we keep in touch, you know, online. So it's actually very nice, because when I talk to her, it's very funny, because like I see that she's a very experienced woman, you know, but at the same time when we talk, it's like we're the same age, you know, like we speak the same language, we have the same mindset, you know, and that to me is amazing, you know. It's really cool to meet somebody like this who can sort of kind of balance out, you know, the other kinds of old people that I see who are the complete opposite of her, you know. Not to say that she's old, you know, but you know, it's just you know what I mean, you know. If you happen to watch this video, you know who you are, you know. I'm not calling you old, but you're very smart, very full of wisdom, you know. And happy birthday again, by the way, happy belated birthday to you. But anyway, so getting back to the topic of the video, I think that like every generation is going to have a gap, you know, between it and the last one, you know. So maybe my kids, there's gonna be a gap between them too, you know. Like there always will be, you know. Like even if you try to be a hip parent, if you try to stay up to date with what your kid, the lingo that the kids are using and all that, you're still always going to be behind to some degree, you know. It's inevitable, you know. It's just that, whoa, what the hell, dude? What's wrong with you? I thought I was about to run someone over or something. There's some kids playing outside, a car just freaking flew right by. But anyway, so I think that there's always going to be some kind of generation gap, you know. You can't like escape it, you know. But like even if you try to stay up to date, you're always going to be behind, you know. Even I feel behind, you know, because I live in Brazil, a country that is notoriously late to trends happening around the world, you know. So there's a lot of lingo, internet lingo in the United States, for example, right now, that it takes me so long to pick up on them, you know. And by the time that I do pick up on them, it's like, wait, what? So they're not using it anymore? anymore. So then I start to turn into an old person myself, you know, who's completely out of date, out of touch with all this stuff. Same thing with games, you know, somebody is playing a game that's really hyped up right now, and then like when I finally start playing it here in Brazil, you know, be it for my YouTube channel or just entertainment, then the game isn't even trending anymore in the United States. So it's like, it's very, very strange. But anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about, you know. And like, if you happen to be an elderly person, you know, who's watching this video, you know, don't take this the wrong way, you know, but like, if you want my advice, just be more open-minded, you know, absorb different things and be open to new experiences and learning new things, you know. Don't take the knowledge that you have from, like, I don't know, the 50s or the 40s and think that that is how you're going to apply it, you know, today, because, you know, the world changes, you know, people change, times change. Y'all gotta get real, you know, get with the times, old timers. And that's it. Says the guy who's nearly 30 and who's been feeling back pains lately. I'm getting old, man. But I think that's it, guys. You know, short vlog, you know, short, sweet, and to the point. And I'm anxious to know what you guys think. You know, drop a few comments letting me know how you feel about this generation gap that we're living right now and will always continue to live for as long as humanity exists, okay? And that's it. This is Chazzy signing out for now. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video. And that's it.